A room, and no matter where you look on the floor, there's nothing but bodies. The smell of gunpowder is so thick in the air that it should be suffocating. And right in the middle of that pile of corpses, sitting perfectly still on a chair, is a relatively elderly man. A gun is pointed at his head, yet there isn't a trace of fear on his face. It's as if death is nothing new to him. The man's name is Robert, and the place is a gangster's most secret empire, where just moments ago, 10 or 12 armed men were roaming around. Now they're all lying on the ground. Alone, empty-handed, how did one old man finish off so many people? Who is he really, and what's his purpose? To find the answer to that, you'll have to go back with me to the very beginning of the story, to a quiet winery in Italy. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to fully explain the movie The Equalizer 3. So, at the very start of the story, we're introduced to a gangster named Lorenzo. In the dark of night, he sets off with his son in a car toward his winery. From the outside, it looks like a perfectly ordinary wine factory. No one would suspect a thing. But in reality, this is the headquarters of Lorenzo's entire black money operation. This is where he's been laundering dirty money for years. And the funny thing is, the police have never found even a trace of it. That's how secret this place is. But tonight is a little different. As soon as he passes through the gate, Lorenzo's face turns to stone. His own men's bodies are scattered everywhere, each one killed with brutal precision. The smell of gunpowder in the air, blood on the floor. Seeing one man barely alive, he goes over. The man is shaking with fear. Lorenzo leaves his son in the car and cautiously goes inside himself, gun in hand. The trembling man stammers that there's only one person inside, and he alone carried out this entire massacre. Lorenzo can't believe it at first. How could one man alone take down so many trained gunmen? I have the same question, honestly. But anyway, with curiosity and rage, he goes inside, and there he sees that strange sight, an elderly man sitting calmly in a chair, named Robert. One of Lorenzo's men stands beside him with a gun aimed at his head, but there isn't a hint of tension on Robert's face, as if he's sitting in a coffee shop. Lorenzo stands in front of him and says, "I can't believe you took down so many people alone." Then he asks how Robert got here and what's his real purpose. Robert answers plainly, "You stole something that was never yours. The smart thing to do would be to return it." This makes Lorenzo furious and threatens, "You may have gotten in here, but you'll only leave as a corpse." A slight hardness appears on Robert's face. In a cold voice, he says, "You have exactly 9 seconds left." And once the counting ends, what follows is like a storm. In the blink of an eye, Robert takes down 3 men, then turns to Lorenzo, raises his gun, and finishes him off too. He then picks up a key lying next to Lorenzo and walks slowly, as if nothing happened at all. In every film of this Equalizer series, this man's calmness, even in the most extreme moments, has amazed me.
Outside in the car sat Lorenzo's young son. Robert calmly tells him to sit still, but as Robert starts to walk away, the boy, shaking with fear and rage, shoots him from behind. Robert takes the bullet, but says nothing to the boy, just gestures for him to run away. Because no matter how dangerous the situation, harming children is simply not in Robert's nature. This one small moment tells us exactly what kind of man he really is. Wounded, Robert gets into his own car and drives away from the winery. But he doesn't get far. He stops the car by the side of the highway in the city of Sicily and loses consciousness. Right then, a local police officer named Gio happens to be passing by on patrol. Seeing Robert's condition, he immediately understands the man is a victim of some gang conflict. Instead of taking him to a government hospital, Gio takes him straight to a doctor he knows personally, because going to a government hospital would mean dealing with too many questions. Robert is laid down in Dr. Enzo's small clinic. With skilled hands, Enzo removes the bullet, cleans the wound, and bandages it. About an hour later, when Robert regains consciousness, Enzo tells him a police officer brought him here. Then, a little curious, he asks, "Is that police officer a good man or a bad one?" Robert stays silent for a moment and says, "I don't know." A small line, but believe me, it later becomes a major turning point in the story. Robert immediately wants to get up and go home, but Enzo stops him. His body still needs rest. Over the following days, Robert's body slowly heals. Once he's able to walk, Enzo gives him a wooden cane and tells him he can look around the town if he likes. And this is where a completely different chapter of the story begins. Robert steps out and walks through the town's narrow lanes, sunlit walls, old stone streets, smiling faces. Altogether, there's a strange sense of peace in the place. Walking along, he stops at a coffee shop and sits down, and before sitting, he lays a tissue on the table, a habit of his. It might seem like a tiny detail, but this excessive attention to cleanliness reveals a certain discipline in the man, one that comes from his past. The waitress at the coffee shop, Amina, brings him his coffee. Right then, Gio walks in with his little daughter, Gabriella. Gio checks on Robert's condition, returns his car keys, and says, "What happened to you isn't something that happens to ordinary people. I don't want to ask you any questions, and I didn't look inside your car either, because honestly, I don't want to know who you really are." This one line alone tells us exactly what kind of man Gio is. Practical, someone who knows when to ask and when staying quiet is more useful. In the next scene, we see a secret CIA office where an agent named Emma is working at her computer. Suddenly, her phone rings. It's Robert on the other end. Without any preamble, he directly gives the location of Lorenzo's winery. Surprised, Emma asks who he is and why he's giving this information. Robert simply says, "I'm just a responsible citizen," and tells her to send a team quickly before hanging up. Just imagine someone calling this easily to hand over a gangster's address. Emma immediately realizes this man is no ordinary person. A place the police couldn't find in years, this unknown voice found on his own. With curiosity and suspicion, she checks the location via satellite and confirms a massive operation is indeed happening there. She immediately reports the whole matter to her superiors. From the next day, we see Robert wandering through the town's alleys, chatting casually with the locals, slowly building friendships. But once night falls, everything changes. Every time he tries to sleep, that bloody night keeps replaying in his mind, how he went in alone and finished everyone off. This memory keeps him awake night after night, so no matter how tough he looks on the outside, deep down, the man is carrying a past with him. The next day, sitting in the coffee shop, Robert notices something odd. The shop owner hands an envelope to a young boy who takes it and delivers it to a young man named Marco. It's clear right away that Marco is the local thug, extorting money from small business owners and torturing anyone who doesn't comply. Basically, think of him as the small town's own personal terror. Meanwhile, Amina sits at Robert's table and starts chatting, smiling as she serves his coffee. Slowly, an easy, genuine friendship grows between the two, and the rest of the townspeople also start to recognize Robert as a friend. One day, while walking, Robert sees Marco going into a shopkeeper named Angelo's store to collect protection money. But Angelo's business is struggling, and he has no money to give. Furious, Marco beats him mercilessly and threatens to come back next week demanding double. Coming out of the shop, Marco's eyes fall on Robert standing at a distance. Their eyes meet for a moment, and without a word, he walks away, though a seed of suspicion is planted in his mind. The scene now shifts to the city of Naples, where Marco arrives with his men to meet his older brother, Vincent. Vincent is a terrifying gang leader in this area, someone everyone fears. We see Vincent in an apartment forcing the owner to sell his house. When the owner refuses, his men brutally kill him. This one scene alone shows that human life means nothing to Vincent. Then Vincent instructs Marco, "Collect as much money as possible. I have a big plan coming up." Meanwhile, Robert goes to Angelo's shop to buy fish. Right then, Amina also arrives, and she teaches Robert how to pick good, fresh fish. This small moment deepens their friendship even further. When he tries to pay, Angelo refuses to take the money, saying, "You're our guest. We can't take money from you." These small moments show exactly how an unfamiliar town gradually becomes home to Robert. Meanwhile, back at the winery, Emma arrives with her team. They recover a huge amount of drugs and Lorenzo's stashed black money. Emma's boss, Frank, is stunned that such a massive crime location remained hidden for so long. He gives a clear order: find out everything about whoever gave you this information. They must know a lot more. In the next scene, we see Enzo examine Robert's wound and declare him fully healed. Curious, Robert asks why after such a huge incident, neither Enzo nor Gio reported anything to the police. Enzo smiles and replies, "I asked you if you were a good man or a bad one. You said you didn't know, and only a truly good man could give an answer like that." Honestly, I loved that line too. Meanwhile, as Robert packs up to prepare to leave town, screams suddenly come from outside. He goes out and sees that Marco's men have set fire to Angelo's shop. Watching the shop he built with his life savings burn before his eyes, Angelo breaks down, trying to run into the fire, and the people around barely manage to hold him back. Standing a little apart, Robert watches Marco, who stands calmly enjoying the whole scene. This is the moment that solidifies Robert's decision. He won't leave this town until this matter is settled. The next day, the whole town comes together to rebuild Angelo's shop. Meanwhile, Gio checks the CCTV footage and immediately spots the black car of the men who set the fire and orders an investigation. Meanwhile, Robert goes to the coffee shop to see Amina, who invites him to dinner, and Robert agrees. Walking through the town's small streets, sitting in a little restaurant, talking over a meal, these scenes show us a completely different side of Robert. The next day, entering the coffee shop, Robert notices Emma secretly taking his photo from a distance. He looks directly at her and asks, "Are you taking my picture?" At this moment, Emma becomes certain that the mysterious source she'd been searching for is none other than Robert. Emma says she could have brought the police to arrest him, but she hasn't taken that path yet. Robert replies coldly, "You can't scare me." Then Emma asks him directly if he's responsible for the bodies at the winery. Robert laughs and says, "I'm just an old man. Where would I get the strength to kill so many people?" Emma tells him to stay in this town and leaves. Though interestingly, she doesn't fully believe this lie, nor can she fully disbelieve it either. Meanwhile, Gio goes one day to pick up his daughter from school when he gets a call from one of Marco's men threatening to kill her. Panicked, Gio goes to the teacher and learns that some officers from his own department had already taken his daughter. Furious, Gio goes straight to Marco's house, where Marco beats him mercilessly and threatens, "If you interfere with our work again, I'll finish off your entire family." Injured, Gio goes to Enzo for treatment and tells him this is the work of the town's gangsters. This incident solidifies the decision already forming inside Robert. Now he must take direct action against them. Alone in his room, he begins training, trying to bring his body back to its old form. Around this time, Emma comes to see him and tells him that despite many attempts, she couldn't find any information about him, as if the man has no past at all. She also asks if he has some plan involving Vincent. Robert says nothing, just stares silently. Disappointed, Emma leaves. That same night, Gio takes his family out for dinner, perhaps looking for a bit of relief. But right then, Marco shows up with his men, threatening Gio again, saying he now has to work for Marco. Right at that moment, Marco's eyes fall on Robert, who's been watching him intently. Angered, Marco starts threatening Robert. In a calm yet sharp voice, Robert says, "It would be better for you to leave, or I'll give you pain you won't be able to bear." Marco and his men laugh it off, treating it as some old man's bad joke. But the moment Marco reaches out, Robert instantly grabs his hand and twists it. Marco screams in pain. When his men move forward, Robert says clearly, "Send everyone outside or I'll kill you." Forced to comply, Marco tells his men to step outside. Then Robert tells him to put the gun on the table and leave himself, completely calm as if he'd just paid a restaurant bill. Humiliated in front of everyone like this, a fire of revenge burns inside Marco. He calls his men and plans first they'll finish off the old man, then kill everyone in the coffee shop one by one. But right then, a car loses control and comes speeding straight at Marco, running over one of his men. This wasn't an accident. Robert had arranged it himself. He then shows up in person and finishes off the second man too. When Marco charges at him with a knife, Robert grabs him and kills him with his own knife, striking him repeatedly. The next morning, police find the bodies of Marco and his two associates, along with some drugs. At the very same time, in Rome, a massive explosion occurs, killing many people. The investigation reveals that the attack was funded by drug money. Frank orders Emma to uncover the whole truth because the roots of this explosion trace back to the incident at the winery. Emma goes to the police chief and hands over a file listing some notorious criminals. Interrogation leads the police to a location where they raid and eliminate everyone involved. But here's a twist. It turns out the police chief is secretly working for Vincent. He warns Vincent, the CIA has entered the city, so lie low for a while. But Vincent refuses, saying he's afraid of no one. In a fit of anger, the chief blurts out, "I'll get caught up in this along with you." Enraged by this, Vincent slits his wrist and declares, "Now my only goal is to find my brother's killer. You'll help me or you'll die." This one scene alone shows just how ruthless the man is. Meanwhile, Robert calls Emma to warn her the people you're looking for are extremely dangerous. Be careful. But shortly after, Emma's car explodes violently, leaving her seriously injured. Frank visits her at the hospital and says, "I'll uncover the whole truth very soon." Meanwhile, Vincent comes to Sicily directly with his men. He captures Gio and brings him to the town's central square, shouting, "Who killed my brother?" The shouting brings people out of their homes. Vincent threatens that if the killer doesn't come forward, he'll kill Gio first, then everyone else one by one. As soon as he finishes speaking, he fires a shot right past Gio's ear just to scare everyone. Seeing this, Robert can no longer stay silent. He shouts in front of everyone, "I killed your brother because he was tormenting these innocent people." With a gun in each hand, he stands in front of Vincent and says, "If you want to kill me, go ahead, but not here, not in front of these people." Vincent laughs and says, "There's no better place than this. I want the whole town to see what happens to anyone who crosses me." Saying this, he raises his gun and aims it at Robert. But right before he can fire, Enzo comes running, fires a shot in the air to stop everyone, and tells Vincent, "You cannot kill Robert. He's become one of our family now." As soon as these words are spoken, one person after another from the town starts stepping forward, lighting up the darkness with their phone flashlights, all declaring together, "We won't let Robert die." Honestly, this scene should give you goosebumps, how a small town made an outsider one of their own.
Surrounded on all sides, Vincent is forced to retreat. Before leaving, he warns, "You survived today, but I'll come back, and then I'll finish off Robert along with all of you." Saying this, he leaves with his men and sits down to plan a full-scale attack on the town. Vincent's plan was to storm the entire town at dawn the next day and wipe everyone out, but Robert figures out his intentions in advance. So, without waiting for morning, he heads out alone in the dead of night toward Vincent's base. A guard hearing a suspicious sound comes to check, and Robert silently takes him down. Going inside, he turns off all the lights, turning the darkness itself into his weapon. One by one, he silently eliminates 3 more of Vincent's men, not even sparing the one monitoring the CCTV so no one inside senses the danger outside. Meanwhile, Vincent is asleep in his room. Suddenly, a drop of blood falls on his forehead, waking him. He opens his eyes to see the glass ceiling above him shattering, and hanging from it is the body of one of his own associates. Seeing this, Vincent realizes someone is silently wiping out his entire force. Trembling, he walks over broken glass to reach his gun, but the moment he steps out of the room, Robert attacks from the darkness and knocks him unconscious instantly. When he regains consciousness, Vincent finds himself tightly bound with wire. Robert stands in front of him and says in a completely calm voice, "You have exactly 6 minutes left to live, because I've injected you with the same drug you sold to innocent people, the drug that made many families lose their loved ones." Saying this, he unties him and tells him to go to the hospital to save his life. This, essentially, is true revenge. Striking him with his own weapon, terrified of death, Vincent starts running, with Robert walking behind him at an unhurried pace, as if there's no rush at all. The moment Vincent steps onto the road, a car comes speeding and slams into him. He's thrown to the ground and dies right there shortly after. Robert quietly leaves the scene without saying a word to anyone. After this incident, the police raid all of Vincent's bases simultaneously and arrest everyone involved in the drug ring. Peace returns to the town. Robert goes to the hospital to visit Emma, who is still slowly recovering. Grateful, Emma says, "If it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't be alive today, so I want to thank you." In response, Robert hands her a bag containing a large sum of money. He tells her this bag needs to be delivered to an elderly man in Boston. This money, it turns out, was that old man's lifelong pension savings, stolen from his bank account by someone. Robert reveals that it was this very money that led him to discover the winery in the first place. So the whole story, which began the way it did, was rooted in this one small cause, an old man's stolen pension money. Emma asks who this old man is to him. Robert simply says, "I met him only once in my life."
Some days later, Emma goes to Boston and hands the old man his lost money. With tears in his eyes, the old man says, "If I hadn't gotten this money back, I would have had to sell my little house and my whole family would have become homeless." This small scene shows that Robert isn't just a fighter, he's a silent protector, standing by helpless people without expecting anything in return. At the very end of the story, an envelope arrives at Emma's office, sent by Robert himself. Opening it, Emma finds an old diary belonging to her late mother. Flipping through the pages, Emma discovers a shocking truth. Her parents were actually Robert's closest, most trusted friends. This twist gives the entire story a whole new dimension, making it clear that the connection between Robert and Emma was never a coincidence. And right then, we see the streets of Sicily flooded with celebration. Their beloved football team has won, and the whole town is bursting with joy. In the middle of that crowd, we find Robert, standing there smiling, now a familiar face among them, because by this point, he has decided to stay in this town forever. Among the very people he did so much for, he has found his real family. And it's here, with a calm, warm ending, that the story of the Equalizer 3 comes to a close. So let me know in the comments how you liked the video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to the channel for more movie explanations like this one.